Hello everyone, my name is Tanya, and welcome to my series, The Most Interesting People on My Timeline. This is an ever-evolving series highlighting those who have crossed my path and caught my attention either online or in real life. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and follow, and to watch my other videos, including the first 2 episodes of this series that I did with James Garavito and Alexis Levant. If you're not new here, it's so iconic that you haven't gotten sick of me yet and that you're here for a 3rd episode. The interview was particularly important because Sonia was the one that was like, an audiovisual component would actually kind of slay for you. I was just going to do like a written portion of the interview, but Sonia really inspired me to do something more. If you'd like more ways to interact or more information about Sonia and their various enterprises, you can go to tanyadoes.com/Sonia Erika, and you can also find all links and more information in the description box of whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on. So welcome to episode 3. Let me introduce you to Sonia Erika.
My name is Sonia Erika. My work is basically birthing out projects and trying not to burn out in the process. And the themes that are explored in these projects are a combination of things from like weed to migration to belonging and demystifying capitalism with all of that. So like that's like the big umbrella.
So Sonia Erika has been described as an artivist, a cannabis activist, a serial entrepreneur. They have been featured in multiple publications. They are a co-founder for the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council, as well as EatMe.land, which houses the Nomad Kitties project, as well as Death is a Business and the communities with those 2 projects, and many, many more things, which you will hear about in this episode. So I first heard about Sonia and their work through a network called the Undocumented Filmmakers Collective that we're both a part of, and we were both active in the group chat, and I just followed everyone that was in there, and their work started popping up on my feed on Instagram, and what caught my eye was that they were in a nomadic band called Death is a Business. And I was like, well, what's a nomadic band? And just realized that they had this whole they had a traveling component that was like more than a tour than what you're usually used to seeing with bands that travel. And so from there, I reached out to them just through DM on Instagram, see if they would want it to be part of this series. We did the interview, we were talking, they're like, you really need to do an audio visual component of this as a podcast. It would be really cool. It'd be a really cool archive of artists. And so, of course, that's what I ended up doing. So without talking to Sonia, we really wouldn't be here, honestly. Speaking with them was also really incredible just because they are a part of so many projects and have started so many projects and have used the digital space as a place of work, as a place of business, as a place of community.
And I can give you like a bit of advice as someone who has gone from project to project and has kind of just like been in a space of kind of, well, I see my projects as like giving birth, right? So like it's like I'm constantly trying to produce, and that may feel unsafe sometimes because it's like, well, why do I keep switching from thing to thing? But at the same time, I think it's beautiful because whatever you do is that it's like a footprint, and then the next thing you do is another footprint. And so it's totally okay to, go deep, quick, and then do something else. I'm a big dreamer in cooperative frameworks, and they're not always easy. It's so much easier to be in a dictatorship, but they're really worth it because when I think about, my parents as laborers and their work and the future, I really can't imagine a future that works sustainably without co-ops. So yeah, co-ops are a part of everything, of all these little art/business structures. All of my businesses are art projects, and kind of in the same way, all of my art projects are businesses because I'm trying to make a living from my art.
Yeah.
Which can be problematic sometimes because it's like, where is that boundary, right? Like, where is the boundary from art and business, and how do we keep it balanced so that it doesn't feel like it's too much business, or when it's not enough business, like how do we bring that back so we can actually flow rivers of income into our life, so we can keep creating this shit.
What was also super special about speaking with Sonia was that they are formerly undocumented, and they also graduated from Harvard, which I didn't know when I first reached out to them. I didn't actually know that they had gone to Harvard at all until I was doing research for our interview that I found out. So the fact that we shared these two particular experiences was really cool. So in sharing these two different experiences with them just led me to ask about their post-grad life, their relationship with Harvard now, their relationship just in general, being an undocumented person, post-grad, and now traveling. So I just learned a lot from them in that conversation.
Well, I don't know about your Harvard experience, but it was a love-hate relationship for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I definitely went through a few, like, well, I mean, I've been thinking about this too. I don't know if I have like mania. I think I have mania from before Harvard. I think like one of the first like times I haven't experienced many states of mania, but I have experienced maybe like, I would say 3 to 4. And my first state of mania that I experienced was when I first found out that I was undocumented and that I couldn't get a job. And that actually pushed me to find Harvard, because Harvard was one of the few places that would accept undocumented students, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I thought it was going to be perfect. I thought it was my golden ticket. I thought, okay, I'm good. Everything is great. Mission accomplished, state of mania avoided. But no, it was just the beginning of another journey. Yeah, Harvard was really difficult for me because as an undocumented person, as a child of, laborers who are not the most wealthy in material ways, I just remember getting to like junior year and being like, why the fuck am I here? Like, I'm at the best institution in the world and I don't even know what I'm doing or what I'm studying or why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, I felt completely like lost. And shortly before getting to that, I experienced my kind of like my other big moment of mania when I was like, whoa, like the people here are so rich. They come from so much wealth. Like, this is crazy to me. Like, I can't even, like, my roommates, what? Like, these girls are loaded. That actually led me to creating one of my first projects, which was Nenas. It was never finished, but it got some good footage and coverage by BuzzFeed. I started that project in a really dope class with an artist called Caleb Lindsay, and he was a visiting professor. He wasn't like a regular professor, and I just loved his work because he mostly focused on telenovelas, but also like not just like Mexican telenovelas, like telenovelas worldwide. And so he was a huge inspiration for me, and I'm super fucking like, one of the best things from that Harvard experience, thankfully, was this, like, out of all the crazy shit, there's also some greatness. And this was part of it because Caleb Lindsay was just dope. So he inspired me to create this in that way, and also study like, what does it mean to perform being feminine and a female? And that's something that I've always struggled with because, it's just complicated. But I didn't finish it because the class ended and I only filmed those 3 episodes. And then I remember I had it in my drive or in the school Google Drive, but then I wasn't organized when graduation came around, and how Harvard takes away your email. So all that shit is gone into the abyss.
2 big components and sources of inspiration for Sonia are weed and music, and they intertwine in their journey to creating these various projects.
I think I've chosen to do my work in this way mainly because, not really by choice, but by emotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I actually started doing music during college with Dario.
Mhm.
He was one of my first like music partners, and we recorded 2 super dope songs, which I've actually now brought back to this current band, and we're performing them live, and it's so dope to be able to perform it live after like 12 years, because they're like still super dope songs. One of them is called Kitty Cat, and the other one is called White Picket Fences. And these were both projects with Dario, and we actually were invited to perform at Columbia University. Right after music, so Dario and I actually took a year off together without even knowing that we were taking a year off together. And it was during this time that I moved to New York, and I was working for Vice. And then all of a sudden, I was like, okay, this shit is ending. Like, what am I going to do now? And I found a community, well, through music, actually. I went to this thing called Rap School. And every Sunday they had like a cipher, and they also had weed, like a lot of weed. And I was just like, why? What's up with this weed world? Like, I had not even consumed weed like that when I was younger because, I mean, I don't know if you know, but in my family, weed was very like frowned upon. It was very like, oh my God, that's a drug. So I stayed away from it. And it wasn't until junior year when I found this community that I tried it for the first time, like really tried it. And I fell in love. And I was like, wow, this is my purpose. Like, I'm going to become a messenger for the plant. I'm going to help legalize this shit. Or, well, at first I didn't want to legalize it. I wanted it to stay legal because I wanted the illicit market to continue to exist and to be protected. Because sometimes, I think this is like also connected to being undocumented. I feel like as an undocumented person, I don't have too much trust in the government sometimes. So when it comes to legalization, whether it's people or plants, I don't trust it. Like, I don't trust them commodifying this shit. I don't like, what does our freedom come with? But I was convinced because I found other like partners, my community at that point, they really believed in legalization. And we were all like black and brown youth. And we were like, yeah, we're gonna do this shit. Like, we really believed it. Like, we really, really believed it. It was crazy. And so one of my co-founders, first we started one organization, the Cannabis Cultural Association. That was in New York. And then when I was coming back to school, I was like, okay, I gotta finish school. My co-founder for this new organization, the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council, which was a 501c4 weed lobbying organization in Massachusetts, he was like, Kamani, he was like, weed's gonna legalize in Massachusetts. I don't know how he saw it. He was just a political visionary, but he was like, we gotta move back. Like, you gotta go back to school. And so we came back. He was originally from New York. And yeah, we organically found other team members. And then we all became part of this movement. And it was just so beautiful and dope and strong for a while. And then, you know, burnout is real. And so the sad part about it is that Kamani and I were not just co-founders, we were also like love partners, which is, again, goes back to that balance of business, art, and inside of that is love, right? And so most of my partners also tend to be like business partners. Yeah, I had to like kind of recuperate from that burnout. And after that time, I kind of like let go of this company that I helped found. Like, we got to like, right now they're at 5,000 followers. Right before I left, we got to 4,000. And it was just a lot of work, love, and labor put into this project. And now I'm kind of like, in a different space, but for a while, it definitely was like deep, deep burnout. It was a lot of pain and healing and rebirth. And I ultimately ended up going back to music because music is what gives me life. And like I realize that if I'm gonna leave this, if I'm gonna leave this project, this baby, then I need to do something that gives me life. Because if I don't, I'm gonna die. And that's why, like, you know, Death is a Business came into the new footprint. And that's where I'm currently putting a lot of energy. Through my work in the weed industry, I ended up attending this conference called Students for Sensible Drug Policy. And it's a conference that's held, that I haven't been to it in a while, but it used to be held like every year. And it would be held in different places, but people from all over the US, from all over the world, it was all students, and we would all come and talk about drug legalization. Not just weed, but also like cocaine and methamphetamine and other different types of drugs, but legalization with the purpose of actually, you know, helping society and not putting more people in jail. But it was through this space that I uh I found my music partner, who like was also in this drug policy world. He's actually a journalist writing for Filter magazine. But we started having a jam session at somebody's hotel room. And when we started having that jam session, it was like, oh, like I don't know, things just clicked. And that's where it kind of happened. And Alex, he actually founded Death as a Business in 2013. I've only joined, it's only been 3 years since I've been part of the band. And then the band became nomadic because I was super lucky to get my papers in 2020. And so as soon as that shit happened, I was like, I'm going, like I'm leaving. Like you can come or you can stay, but I'm going either way. And so that's where our journey started for like recording music in other spaces and collaborating with musicians from that space and then bringing it back, like, you know, making these connections.
That was like one of the biggest things that like stood out to me was the traveling aspect of it. Cause like I still like I have DACA, so like I guess technically I could travel or whatever, but like seeing y'all do it and then do that through music, and in addition to that have like the blogs that give travel tips, that like recommend small businesses or like connect to small artists in these like communities. You could just focus on the music, right? So why did you expand to include all these other aspects of that travel experience?
It's just something that I struggled with a lot, because I really, as much as I like to do footprints and, you know, start different projects, I also really value focusing on one thing. And at the same time, I couldn't help it. Like it was just like, it just kept bothering me. It kept like, you should do this, you should do this, you know, that little voice in your head. And I think I just couldn't avoid it, because as part of that experience of, you know, not having papers, a big mission for me is getting more Black and brown people to travel, because we have to, like, we have to. And going so many years without being able to travel, and almost even like there was a point at Harvard where I got accepted to this internship, but I couldn't take it because I didn't have my papers, and it was in Mexico. And I was like, I'm gonna go to Mexico. And then the lawyer that was working with me at the time was like, no, you're not. Stop it. Like, come on, just be patient. You're gonna get your paper soon. But you know how it is. And so a big part of this for me is creating that community, so that we have the knowledge to just do it, and to just, you know, book a flight, go to this hostel or hotel, and just make it happen, but also have a community where we feel safe. And so Death is a Business is like the music aspect, but then Nomad Kitties is like the culture aspect. Members of Death is a Business are Nomad Kitties, and Nomad Kitties can meet up in different places.
I really like that. And I think I saw like a TikTok a while ago that was like like traveling is like an extension of like colonialism or whatever. And then someone had stitched it and said, actually, like, no, the travel industry might be, but like Black and brown people have been traveling like forever. Like
Oh, yeah.
traveling is like a right, like should be
Migration.
a human right. Yeah. So
Yes.
like I think that that is like such a big like thing to realize, that we should be able to travel.
TikTok is really great because I think it just gives people the ability to be more human and not as curated as we are on Instagram.
Mhm.
So I definitely love that about TikTok. Like, I will always be able to log on and see something interesting, learn something interesting. So it's something that I do want to, invest more time in. At the same time, like, I've been basically trained on Instagram. Like, Instagram is kind of like my platform and the one that is easiest to me because I've been on it for so long. And so it's like a difficult process of like balancing how many platforms are we on? Which ones are we giving our time and focus to? And what I would say towards that is like just start with one. Have fun while you're doing this shit. And be the most important part is just be consistent. Like, just have a day when you do it, and then, just do it. Even if you don't feel like it, even if it's like, oh, this shit sucks. Because that's how I feel about it. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Like, I see how powerful it is, and at the same time, it's such an energy taker.
So, a very popular topic that I've been talking with people about are NFTs and like, the blockchain and all of that. And with Sonia, it was really cool to talk about a streaming platform that they advocate for. This platform is called Resonate, and it works on the blockchain, and it gives musicians and artists a chance to make more money per stream than other audio streaming platforms. And they happen to know the person who's on the board for this, and that's how they found out, and that's how they have been releasing music for Death is a Business.
I found out about it through another friend who's really big into music and recreating the music industry and making it better for artists, like more co-ownership. She's also really big in the world of co-ops. And actually, I think she's on the board. Her name is Nati Conrazon. Yeah, she's actually been in the music industry for a while. She's helped so many artists. She's like done PR for them, and currently she works for she started an organization called Art Co-op, which I was working with for a little while, and she also works with New Economy Coalition. So those are really great platforms to follow, especially New Economy Coalition, because it has so much of that solidarity economy framework that, it's like, what does this actually look like? Is this shit real? Like, who's doing it? And so that's a really good place to find it. And that's how I found out about Resonate, because she's on the board and she posted about it. And then I was like, wow, this is a co-op. Like, I can make more money in this platform with just 7 streams. Like, I can buy myself a cup of coffee with 7 streams instead of having to wait for 700 streams on Spotify.
I think that's interesting because like it's on the blockchain, and I remember like when NFTs and like the blockchain, like those topics come about, a lot of people think like, oh, it's going to be like some finance bro like talking to me about an NFT, but it actually has a lot of similarities to you like personal ownership and co-op. So I don't know like if you could talk more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that when it comes to these blockchain structures. I see the possibility, I see the capacity of transparency. And at the same time, I think we just need more information about it. We need to like, it needs to become part of our, I don't know, our daily language, because I have been part of a few groups that have gone on to, launch NFTs or create DAOs. These organizations live in the blockchain, live through blockchain. Some of them use specific currencies like Ethereum, some of them use other types of currencies. But the point is exactly what you're saying, is that more, it's less decentralized, and that it gives more power to its users. But all of this is like, it's kind of like really mind blowing sometimes, and it can be too much. Like, sometimes I'm like, wait, let's just go back to the soil. Like, fuck this shit. Like, let's just grow tomatoes, because it's a lot. But if you are looking for a place to learn more about this, I do recommend Clubhouse, because there's a lot of like NFT rooms, and there's a lot of places that will talk about this shit, and not just like the technical aspect, but also the human aspect and how we're tying it to society.
Like the biggest thing is probably accessibility to even learning about this. So I feel like that's why we get closed off to it sometimes, is like, oh, it's too complicated. Like I'm not a tech savvy person. But then again, like you said, it like does have these decentralized models that and ownership and transparency that I'm like, wait, I actually understand that and like that, you know? Yeah. And like you said, kind of at some point you sometimes do want to go back to that soil. And so with this series, that's kind of what I wanted to explore more, is like my digital relationships and interactions and turning them into more personal or real life interactions, right? So how do you see that? I know like your work, you share a lot of it online, and that's how I've been able to interact with it. But then you also have the real life, like on the ground travel experiences. And I don't know if this is necessarily a question, but I just like would love your general thoughts on that, on the interaction between digital space, creative space, real life space.
Sometimes for me, it's really hard to go straight from real life to digital life. So whatever's happening to me in real life, it's hard for me to immediately put it in my digital life. And that's just me personally. I don't know if like, you know, everybody's like that, but what I end up doing to be able to work with that is, and this is something that's taken me like years to come to understanding, and specifically with this traveling project, instead of posting, because so we've been to Mexico, Peru, y Brazil, but we're not posting right away, like, you know, Brazil. And sometimes when I talk to one of my other teammates, they're like, let's just drop everything and we'll just start posting about like the new country we go to. But I'm like, no, we can't do that. We've consumed a lot. We have to honor the past, and we have to, you know, put it out there. And also, if we say that to ourselves, we may not even do it, and we may not, you know, just not do anything. And so what we're doing now is kind of synchronizing everything, and well, trying to synchronize everything. And so Death is a Business is coming out with our first Mexico album on August 25th. And through that push, we're going to be posting all of our Mexico content. An aguachile recipe, grilled octopus recipe that's tied to a story of a person that we met there, experiences that we had with the culture there, like somebody that was a person that gave massages. So all of the knowledge, all of the shit, all of the experience that we experienced in Mexico, it is now just now being in the process of being pushed out. And then once that's done, then we move on to Peru. And so we're always a little bit behind in projection.
Death is a Business recently submitted for NPR's Tiny Desk contest, and they submitted a live performance of their song Arson, which they performed in Brazil in the rainforest. And I think that Arson is one of my favorite songs by them, in addition to Golden Boy. So you should check both of those out.
It was really cool. We were staying at a beautiful place. It was one of my favorite homes because the person that like made this space was a woman who built this home basically with her own hands. And that was just super inspiring to me because it was beautiful. She had like piñas growing everywhere and papayas and all of these different types of fruits and flowers. And I just really loved how she had managed to incorporate the earth with her home. And so the recording that you saw on YouTube is actually in her home. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, it looks like we're in the fucking rainforest. And it's called El Jardín Secreto.
I saw in the description that it's a song that y'all like recorded and will eventually release. And I was just thinking like, it'd be crazy to release like this version, or y'all recorded this version, because you can hear the Amazon like around y'all, and like it's part of the song. Like I was like, I hope y'all do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really the cicadas. I don't know if you heard that thing that sounded like a zzz, like crazy thing. Those were cicadas, and it was crazy. Like they were jamming with us. Really excited about the recorded version because that one was recorded in Peru with the cajon, the Afro-Peruvian cajon, and it just sounds like, and it's also like a metal song. So when you hear it, it's just gonna give you, it's one of my favorite songs. It's gonna give you so much life.
Yeah. And like with the cicadas, actually, it was such a familiar sound to me because like in the South, the cicadas are everywhere. Like it's always like they're just a constant drone. I was like, "Yeah, that's actually familiar, even though it's in Brazil. Like that's the sound I know. It's
That's dope. That's so crazy.
I know you guys take like herbs as payment, or like you usually perform in community spaces, and you also have like specific makeup that you use during performances. Where'd you get that inspiration from, and how do you choose these venues, these forms of payment as well?
The makeup comes from, it was inspired by Dia de los Muertos. And the first time that I ever got makeup like that was when I actually went back to Mexico, and one of my cousins, she painted me, and I was like, what? This is crazy. And so ever since then, I'm like, this is our war paint. And when we perform, it's like we're going to war. And so part of also history of makeup is that it's been used as a form of yeah, to prepare for war, to hide like your vulnerability, and to present a scary rendition of yourself, to scare the opponent. And so I really love that aspect of makeup, and I try to make our makeup a little bit crazy to honor that, like we're going to war. And as far as the venues, we've been working with one of our really great friends, Alex's really great friend, and he's been helping us do our booking. And it's just super amazing because it's only this year that, we're doing like a summer tour, and it's crazy because it's like, oh my God, like we have a show almost every weekend. I have to give a big shout out to Andre because he's been able to find like these spaces that really fit where we're trying to be. And that part of that definition of that is like, yes, kid spaces, which are my favorite because kids have so much energy and they're just so, like, I don't know. I love performing with when children are present because they're more present, and they're just like, what? Like, what is this? Your face. And adults, they try to hide their excitement. So it's good to have both, but definitely children bring up the energy. We definitely try to be business savvy and get guarantees, which is what it's called in the industry, in the music industry. So that means that whatever venue you're contacting, they give you a guarantee, or they promise a percentage of door sales, ticket sales, or they promise a percentage of bar sales, or it could be a combination of all those three, or in some cases herbs. Really try to understand, like, who are we asking for this? Like, is it a venue that can afford to pay? And if you are, then you got to pay up, buddy. But if it's like, oh, this is a community event, like this is for the children, then it's like, okay, we'll be paid in whatever form of energy you desire. Well, I think what keeps me doing it is that I don't think that there's others doing the same. I think that there's others producing and creating and publishing, but I don't think there are others doing the same. Oh, it could be similar, but I don't think it's the same. And also, I don't know, I feel like I just have this thing in me that's like, I have to put this shit out. And I don't know why, but I just feel it. Otherwise, I see it as like a consumption of food. And then, the cycle, we eat and then we poop, we eat and then we poop. That's like how I see creation. It's like I consume experiences and then I have to poop. I consume and then I have to publish. And that's just really like what it is, because I can't imagine life without that cycle, even regardless of the views. I think that's really what it is for me. It's like, just do it. Just keep creating patterns and footsteps and circles. And either way, who knows, in history, it will be remembered or it may not be. But either way, it's nice that it's there. And so when I'm going on Instagram, I just want to see shit that inspires me, because already Instagram feels like it's such a curated space where everybody's like, posting well, it can feel like that, but it can also feel like, oh wow, this is dope work. Oh wow, like a fellowship. Oh wow, like a new information that's actually really cool. So that's like, I think everybody is responsible for curating their own feed and not feeling guilty for not consuming everything. And also with that, I think that brings us to the part of like followers versus following, right? Like, how many people do we want to follow? Do we want to follow everybody? And if we follow everybody, are we really interested in everybody's story? It gets hard. If you want to join the tribe, become a nomad kitty. We're on Patreon, which is a really great site for creators. If you've never experienced Patreon, I recommend that you try it out just to see like how it works and how creators are using it, because it's a really good way of creating like another source of income as creators. And it's actually, so right now the Eat Me Patreon is definitely like on the startup small side. Like we only have like a community of 6 members right now, which we put into a space. So we have a Slack for the Nomad Kitties and band members. And so everybody in this space like shares, like there's a travel channel for people that are like, oh, I'm going to go to this country, who wants to come? There's like an inspiration channel, there's a nomad school. So yeah, that's like how we create community.
Death is a Business is currently touring in the US on their Electric Kool-Aid tour. They are touring through November with shows in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Colorado. So go follow them so y'all know when they come to your city and or when they drop their EP so you can listen. The link to all of Sonia's projects, including Death is a Business, is in the description box and on taniadoes.com/Sonia Erika. Thank you so much for joining me with this episode, with the interview that kind of started this whole project and really built it to what it is today. I have 2 more episodes coming before I take like kind of a mid-season break, and then I'll be back with even more people to interview that I find interesting. As always, you can subscribe and follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. I am Tanya Does. All of that will be linked in the description box. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up, all that good jazz. And just remember to stay creating, stay making beautiful things, stay connected, and I will see y'all in the next episode.